Guglielma was an Italian woman of the 13th century who practiced and preached an alternative, feminized version of Christianity in which she predicted the end of time and her own resurrection as the Holy Spirit incarnate. She is now the unofficial patron saint of Brunate. A painting from California, 1450 depicting Guglielma blessing Abbess Maddalena Albrizzi and an unknown donor hangs in the Church of San Andrea in Brunate. Barbara Newman has attempted to identify the kneeling figures in the painting as Guglielma's followers, Sister Mifreda Pirovano and Andrea Saramita, but this is contested. Life. Guglielma arrived in Milan around 1260 with her son. Apparently a widow, she adopted the life of a pinzocera, a religious woman living independently in her own home, much like the beguines of northern Europe. In Milan she soon attracted disciples from the elite classes of the city, as well as among the umiliati, a lay urban religious movement that operated on the fringes of heresy. When she died, sometime between 1279 and 1282, her body was buried in the Cistercian monastery at Chiaraval. The burial site soon became a shrine and a cult sprang up around her. The Guglielmites were led by a sister of the umiliati movement, Mifreda da Piovano, who was elected the Pope and performed Mass over Guglielma's grave. Mifreda was the first cousin of Matteo Visconti, the Ghibelline ruler of Milan. The creed declared that Guglielma's resurrection would herald a new church led by women. For obvious reasons, this attracted the attention of the Inquisition. In 1330, Guglielmites were charged with heresy. Guglielma herself was posthumously condemned on the basis of a confession almost certainly extracted by torture from Andrea Saramita, one of Guglielma's most fervent disciples during her lifetime. Guglielma's bones were disinterred and burned, and 3 of her devotees, including Mifreda, were sent to the stake. Guglielma as the daughter of the King of Bohemia. Since the Inquisitors burned her followers' original writings, the only surviving primary source regarding Guglielma's life is the record of the trials of her followers, which is itself incomplete but includes 4 official notebooks filled with interrogations and depositions. When questioning Saramita, the Inquisitors asked if he knew or had heard where this Guglielma was from. He answered yes, she was a daughter of the late King of Bohemia, as it was said. Asked if he had sought out the truth concerning this, he answered yes. He, Andrea, had gone to the King of Bohemia and found the king dead, and found that it was so. Quote, this cryptic testimony was confirmed by a secular priest, Morano-da Garbignate, who had accompanied Saramita on his journey from Milan to Prague. In February 1302, long after the burning of Guglielma's bones, the lay brother Marchisio Secco testified in the mopping up phase of the trial that she had been a woman of good birth, and it was said that she was a sister of the King of Bohemia. The kings in question would have been Primus Ottokar I, Guglielma's father, and his son and heir, Wenceslav Clavi. If Guglielma was a daughter of Primus Ottokar I by his second wife, Queen Constance of Hungary, then she was also a first cousin of Saint Elizabeth of Hungary, a half-sister of Dagmar of Bohemia, who married King Valdemar II of Denmark and was revered as a saint in that land, and a full sister of Saint Agnes of Prague, a Poor Clare abbess whose canonization was first proposed in 1328, though not achieved until 1989. The only problem with this scenario is the absence of any corroborating Bohemian documents. Guglielma couldn't be her true name because she was born in Bohemia. It is the Italian translation of the name Wilhelmina, and in this way is proved she was the daughter of King Ottokar I Primusile. In fact, King Ottokar I and his wife had a daughter with the name Wilhelmina Blanchena. The Visconti family in St. Guglielma, Manfreda da Piovano, was a first cousin of Matteo Visconti, who since 1287 had been Captain General and by 1300 was Lord of Milan. Barbara Newman theorizes that Matteo Visconti confiscated and ultimately preserved the inquisitorial record of the Trail of Guglielma and her followers. Newman also writes, Guglielma's heretication had tarnished the career of Milan's first lord, Matteo Visconti, but in compensation her sanctity would brighten the life of the last Visconti, Duchess Bianca Maria, the wife of the military captain Francesco Sforza. The Papessa card of the Visconti Sforza tarot deck, commissioned by Duchess Bianca Maria Visconti, represents Sister Manfreda da Piovano, an attribution first made by Gertrude Moakley in 1966, well before modern historians had rediscovered the Guglielmites. Bianca Maria was also the patron of the painting depicting St. Guglielma that still hangs in the Church of San Andrea in Brunate. Founded by two sisters as a hermitage in 1340, the tiny Church of San Andrea was a poor, struggling monastery of nuns for almost 300 years before Maddalena Albrizzi decided to enter it around 1420. Albrizzi came of a distinguished family in Como, so her choice of the austere Brunate rather than Santa Margherita, the aristocratic Benedictine house she had first planned to enter, is quite surprising. Newman concludes her study with thus two women of the 15th century, a devout princess and a spiritually ambitious nun, joined forces to revive the good fame of two other women, a devout princess and a spiritually ambitious nun, who had long ago fired the Friends with hope and ardor. Bibliography: Patrizia Costa, Guglielma la Boema, L. Erotica di Chiaraval. Luisa Muraro, Guglielma e Manfreda, Storia di un'eresia femminista. Marina Benedetti, Io non sono Dio. Guglielma di Milano e I figli dello Spirito Santo.